Is he not approved in the height a villain that hath slandered, scorned, dishonored my kinswoman? O God, that I were a man, I would eat his heart in the marketplace. But manhood is melted into curtsies, valor into compliment. I cannot be a man with wishing, therefore I will die a woman with grieving. This quote from Much Ado About Nothing is by Beatrice, who is one of the most beloved Shakespearean heroines of all time. And I think it's easy for women to identify with Beatrice in this quote. It's hard to have avoided that particular moment in life, that moment where you realize that just because you are who you are, you can't do that thing you want to do. It's easy to come to that moment, that closed door that says boys only, and wish to be someone else. To have that Beatrice thought, oh God, that I were a man. I had this thought quite recently, but I'll get to that story in a moment. First, I want to tell you about why I love Shakespeare as much as I do. When I have complicated feelings and thoughts, I often turn to Shakespeare to help me put into words how I feel. I think it's like my Bible in that way. Because I have found throughout my 25-year love affair with Will that he understands the human experience in a way that is truly universal. I've yet to come across a moment in my life that I can't apply to some character somewhere in the Shakespeare canon. Beatrice's quote, I think, is a good example of that. Here's an old white dude accurately describing the infuriating injustice that is sometimes being female. Shakespeare was able to look beyond himself so profoundly, to see other realities of the human experience, and not just those realities, but the specific ramifications and challenges of what it meant to be an underdog. Women, people of color, people who are differently abled, gays, elders, prisoners, the poor. Shakespeare wrote about all of them and so many more. I believe that there truly, truly is something for everyone to identify with in Shakespeare. But not everyone feels that way, and I totally can't blame them. Looking at the faces, the original actors and shareholders of Shakespeare's company, maybe you can identify one of those barriers. Those guys all look a lot alike. Shakespeare's plays have a 400-year-long history of being for this group of people, for men who look like this. All these incredible roles, these diverse characters were written for this group of men. And it's no surprise then that Shakespeare's plays still have a deserved reputation for being exclusive. The classical theater is still a world that belongs to them first and to everyone else second or third, or maybe not at all. I find it tragic that something as diverse, as empathetic, as aware as Shakespeare can be is in many ways a symbol of exclusivity. I had the incredible privilege this summer of playing Rosalind in As You Like It, which is a dream role for most Shakespearean women. She's the largest female role in the whole canon at 685 lines. Go Rosalind. And power is words in Shakespeare. They are your agency. But when you reintroduce the men into the canon, Rosalind jumps down to number 15 on that list. Hamlet is at the top with more than twice her words at 1506. The most powerful woman in Shakespeare's canon cannot hold a candle to Iago, Leontes, Macbeth, King Henry. But hell, Rosalind is still awesome. She's witty and powerful and kind and charming. Any woman working in Shakespeare should be thrilled to play her. But should she be where it ends? For most of my career, I thought I was okay with that. Not a lot of women even get their hands on these incredible roles, the Juliets, Cordelias, Imogens, and Violas. I was damn lucky to get to be them, so I was content. Until D'Artagnan. This fall, I enjoyed another incredible privilege, the chance to play a real swashbuckling hero for the first time in my career in Ohio Shakespeare Festival's production of The Three Musketeers. And if I thought it felt powerful to be Rosalind, D'Artagnan blew her out of the water. I was bowled over with a difference, and I do not diminish the power or agency of Rosalind or characters like her, but until I felt what it was like to play someone who is undeniably the hero of their own story, the strength, I never knew what I was missing. It was like being invited to a club I didn't even know I wanted to be invited to. I fell in love with learning the stage combat choreography. I thought, why haven't I done this before? Why did no one, including me, think to have me cultivate a skill that combined athleticism with acting, the two things that I've pursued and loved my whole life? Probably because of that closed door I mentioned before that says boys only. Even I must have realized the relative futility of learning a specialized skill that I'd only rarely get to use. In some ways, it was discouraging to hear the constant refrain of, at first I wasn't sure about a woman as D'Artagnan, but people came to the show with a presumption that a woman shouldn't be there. But what I really listened, what they were saying was this: At first I wasn't sure, but it was great, or it didn't bother me at all, or I forgot about it entirely, and that's a win at the end of the day. Someone willing to change their perspective and be open-minded toward a woman in a man's role. And it was also encouraging to see children's reactions to the cross-gendered casting. Some were shocked, thrilled to discover I was a girl, maybe hesitant to believe it, but none were disappointed. No, not one child said that they came in unsure at first. These gender roles are learned, and that's encouraging. My "oh God, that I were a man" moment came driving home from rehearsal one night, and it had been an excellent rehearsal full of laughing and productive work, but as we drove home, I got so mad. It had taken me until I was 30 to even know I wanted this, and I may never have it again. And I looked at my husband, who had a full career behind him and ahead of him of playing these incredible people. Oh God, that I were a man. Except when I'm not so heated in the anger of injustice, I don't really feel that way. I really like being a woman, despite the times when it's hard. I just want to get to do what men do. I want to be kings and clowns and warriors and statesmen and lovers, and really that's what Beatrice is saying too. We just want the opportunity without the special permission. Shakespeare and classical theater in general can be for all of us. The stories and characters and words are there to support it, but it won't happen unless we choose it actively. Those at the casting table need to choose it with an open heart. The audience needs to choose it with an open heart when they walk into the theater. The actors need to choose an open heart when they audition for roles outside of their comfort zone. My favorite line in Three Musketeers was, "I do not have the uniform, but I have the spirit. My heart is that of a musketeer." And if we can all begin to think of ourselves in this manner, not judging ourselves or each other by our uniforms, but instead on who we are in our soul, we can become so much more than we think we are, be so many more people than we think we can be. All for one and one for all.